I'm sure glad I'm not driving, said Rooster, as we rocketed along the highway in Alberta. And it was Brian and myself and Rooster. And Rooster had one of those Ford, it was a Mercury Monarch. So it was the least aerodynamic car you could ever imagine. And of course, it burned a ton of gas, but gas was really cheap. This is in the 70s in Alberta. So we were going to ELK Island National Park, which is a buffalo sanctuary. And we had eaten LSD with breakfast. So we headed out there, and Rooster, whenever he was high on acid, would go, I'm sure glad I'm not driving. And anyway, so we get out there, and we go to the first buffalo paddock. We're starting to get a little buzz, and it says, stay in your vehicle. Buffalo are aggressive animals. Do not go near the mother or her calf. And it's okay. So we drive through, and we look at all these, the beautiful red calves and the buffalo. And if you've ever seen buffalo, they're just the most impressive animals in the world. And so we go to this place, and we're going to go on this trail, the Lake Trail. So we're walking, and me, I'm pretty hyper, getting pretty high by this point. I'm walking really quick, and I probably should have noticed because there's huge turds on the ground. So I'm walking along outside, look at it's a big bull standing on the middle of the trail. So I go running back, and my Albertan friends are laughing. Oh, did you back away slowly? Like the sign say, did you back away slowly? Did you, if they put their head down or whatever. I just said, you guys are trying to get me killed. You're just dicking with me or whatever. It was pretty wild. And so we passed another sign says, if the buffalo lowers his head, wait for him to move away. If he lifts his head up from feeding, be careful. If he goes to charge or lifts his leg, be careful. If he turns and defecates, then that's a really bad sign. But that is if anybody does that, it's a bad sign. Doesn't matter if it's an animal or person. So we go, okay, so keep walking around, and all day long, Brian was trying to cut a deck of cards with one hand. Pretty obsessive guy. At this time, we're buzzed. We're absolutely high out of our minds. And we're walking along, and it's that part of Alberta, it's sparse, there's pine and aspen. And you just get that feeling that the Aboriginal people lived there for thousands of years with nature and the buffalo being part of that. And we were pretty high, it was pretty quiet. So we go to a spot between two lakes on the trail, and there's a picnic table, and there's about 20 feet to the next lake. There's a little trail that goes through. So along come a herd of buffalo, and you can hear their feet, and you can hear them breathing heavy. Some of them have brucellosis or whatever, TB, and it's like, and so we're sitting there at the table, and I'm the closest to the path, and this big bull stands there with his eye the size of a tea saucer and looks right at me. Obviously, I was the biggest guy, and he's like, interspecies communication. He goes, hey, you big piece of shit. This is my wife and my kids, so you better be careful. You better behave yourself. And I was absolutely terrified. It's one of the most terrifying moments of my life. He could have taken that picnic table like a popsicle stick and flipped it and killed me or whatever. Anyway, so he stares at me, and the buffalo all wander by, and he gives me one last look and goes, and he wanders off to the field to graze. I thought, wow, that's pretty impressive. My heart's just pounding, man. It just scared the crap out of me. So Brian, Mr. Crazy Man, tries to get as close as he can to this bull. And I decided to go down the trail. I went off on the other trail, and I want nothing to do with this. So every time the bull stops feeding and looks up, he holds still. And he keeps sneaking closer. This is how crazy Brian was. He had to know how close he'd get before the bull charged him. And of course it did. At a certain point, the bull comes running right towards him, and then finally just turns at the last second. So meanwhile, I'd gone down the trail and encountered another bull that was standing there looking at me. And These guys come running up. It's like, whoa, the bull charged Brian. I go, well, yeah. You idiots. Like, what? So we walk back to the car. We get in the car, and they should have a sign. You know, I still think of how scared they should have a sign saying, buffalo may be closer than they appear and larger than they appear, and the use of hallucinogenic drugs in Elk Island Park is strongly discouraged.